Hi everyone, you're all welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial I'll be showing you how I achieved this baby dress with petals. Alright, so to begin I'll be using 1 yard of hard net, a yard of Duchess, also a yard of this doll face satin, and 1.5 yard of lining. I'll be cutting my front and back pattern together. Okay, so I placed the front and the back, and I also left the zipper allowance there of 1.5 inches. So I'll go on and mark my start line and rule a straight line across. So you can see that I left my zipper allowance right there. Don't forget to do that. The back needs a zipper allowance. Then I'll go on and mark the shoulder measurement. This ball gown is for a 3-year-old child. Okay, so the shoulder measurement is 9 inches. I'm going to divide that by 2, and which will give me 4.5. Then I'll go on to take my neck width of 2 inches and neck depth of 2 inches. I'll be using the 2 inches for the front and the back. At the end, I'm going to be cutting off everything because this dress we won't be needing a shoulder. But I'm going through all this process for those that do not understand how to draft a basic bodice. So this is going to help you to understand it better. At my shoulder point, I'll come down by 1/2 inch and I'll draw a line connecting to the neck width. All right, so that will serve as my shoulder slope. From that 1/2 inch point, shoulder slope point, I came down by 4.5 inches. The measurement we took for our shoulder is the same thing I'm using as my armhole depth. All right, so I'll go ahead to determine the midpoint of the armhole depth, and at that midpoint I came in by 0.5 inches to create my armhole curve. The half length of the dress is 9 inches. For a 3-year-old, you can use 9, you can use 8 inches. And I went ahead to add 1 inch for sewing allowance, making it 10 inches. The round body measurement for the chest is 23 inches. Alright, the chest and the tummy is the same thing. For some children, the tummy will be more. So use the larger part of the measurement. So 23 inches, I divided that by 4. And I went ahead to add 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. I'll go on and connect it. So basically we are done with the basic bodice. Alright, so from the shoulder point, I'm going to be taking out 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches, but I'll make it 2.5. So that after sewing, using 1/2 inch to sew, I'm going to end up with 3 inches at the end of the day. So I'll come down by 2.5. From the start line, I'll drop down by 2.5. So as it is, I won't be adding sewing allowance to that side again. I will use 1/2 inch for sewing allowance and end up with 3 inches at the end. So I'll go on and cut it out like this. So this is what we have. I'll place it on my fabric and cut out. I'll place it on the main fabric and the lining as well. So this is for the back pattern. I cut out for the fabric, on the fabric and on the lining. I'll be joining the back to the front. I'm going to join the main fabric separately and I'll join the lining separately using my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches. I'm going to join the back to the front. I'll do same thing with the lining piece. Okay, I'm attaching the back to the front like this as well. Using my sewing allowance, I'll go over to my sewing machine and I'll stitch it all the way down. I'm done sewing and this is what we have. I've given it a good press as well. This is our main fabric. All right, and this is the lining piece. So this is the strap we'll be working with. In length is 7 inches plus sewing allowance. Remember the actual length is 6 inches. So I added 1 inch for sewing allowance, and on fold is 2.5. When opened is 5 inches. So I'll go ahead and fold it into two again like this. So that side is going to serve as the shoulder point. At that side we have 2.5 inches also at the down part, but I'll go on and measure 2 inches, or you can use 1.5 inches at that point as well, just to get that tapered effect that is on the thumbnail. So you can see how the shape is. The upper part is wider than the down part of the strap. You can still reduce it. I think I'll go on and still remove like half an inch or quarter of an inch from it. Right, just like this, and I'll trim it off. So you can see what we have at the end of the day. I'll take it over to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch at that point. I'm done stitching and giving it a good press. I turned it to the right face. Okay, this is for the both sleeve. Turn it and give it a good press. So now I'm going to be attaching it to the main fabric. To do that, from the armhole point, you're going to come in by 1 inch or 0.75 inches. Then you place your strap from that point, just the way you see me going about it. I'll use my pin to hold it down. I'll do same thing at the other part. I'll come in by like 1 inch. And I'm going to place my strap from that point. I'll do same thing for the back part as well. Alright, I'll go in by 1 inch. You can use 0.75. Okay, this is just to create room for sewing allowance around the armhole. I'll place the strap right there. Okay, after sewing it, this is what we'll have. Repeat the same thing at the other side of the back. Place it like this, and I'll go over to my sewing machine using half an inch. I will sew it all round, or not up to half an inch. You can use like quarter of an inch. I'm done attaching it, and this is what we have. Okay, you can see how the strap is. The next thing is to use our lining to turn the neckline and the armhole all round. I'll be placing the lining piece like this. Make sure everything aligns well. So I'll be sewing it using half an inch. I'll sew it all the way to the armhole and then to the sides as well. So the only place that will be left open will be the waist part of the top. That's the only part that will be left open. That is where I will use to turn out everything and give it a good press. Next is to cut out a half flare. I'll be using it as lining and also for attaching our hard net. So I'll be cutting out 2 half flare. Alright, so I went ahead to fold my fabric into 2 like this. You can see I'll just fold it into 2 like this, and then I'll pick from that edge and I'll form a triangular shape like this, bringing it in this way. So you can see what we have. The waist measurement I'm working with is 23 inches plus sewing allowance is 24.5. So divide that by 3.5, which gave me 8 inches. I went ahead to place my tape at the tip and I marked 8 inches all the way down. And then I went ahead to add half inch for sewing allowance. Don't forget to do that. From that point, I will take the length of my flare, which is 14 inches. Alright, 14.5. I marked it all round and I'll go on and cut it out. I'll be cutting out 2 of these. One will serve as lining, one I'll use to attach the hard net. I have 2 of these now, so I'm going to keep one aside, and then the other one that I will use to attach my hard net, I'll be marking it all round. From the waist part, the length of the hard net I'll be working with is 5 inches. Okay, the width is as long as you want it to be. So I came down from the waist point by 1.5 inches. From that point, I'll come down by 3 inches. Okay, these lines are marking. These are the layers I'll be using to place my hard net. And then I'll come down again by 3 inches. You can mark these lines as much as you want, depending on how full you want your net to be. Just make sure after placing your net on the last line, your net is going to be 2 inches above the hem of your lining. All right, this is going to avoid the hard net from touching the child's skin, because it will be really uncomfortable. I'll go back to my sewing machine and I'll be pleating my hard net on my lining. I'm done pleating, and this is what I have. So guys, if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, click on the red button to subscribe, like, and also comment. This is the main fabric. The length is 18 inches and the width is around 120. Remember, we are using 1 yard, and the length of Duchess is around 60 inches. So I cut out 2 sets of 18 inches from it to achieve that 120. I went ahead to run a loose stitch around it, and I gathered it up just like this. I'll go on and attach the up part of our dress to the down part like this. I'm going to be attaching it. I'll also attach the lining piece. I'll go ahead using 1/2 inch and sew it. After sewing, this is what I have. The full length of this gown after hemming is 25 inches. Okay, so I'll be attaching the zipper before attaching the hard net. All right, from the waist point, I came down by 6 inches, and then I went ahead to sew it at that point. I left the rest part open, which is where I'll be attaching my zip. I'm done attaching the zipper, and this is what I have. So the next thing is to go ahead and attach the hard net. I'll turn it to the wrong face, and I'll be attaching my hard net in such a way that it will cover up the rough edges around the waist. So I'll be placing it like this. Just watch how I'm going about it. I'll be sewing on the allowance at the waist. After sewing, I'll turn it this way. Right, you can see that the rough edges will be completely covered up. Then when I get to the zipper part, I'll sew it like this. That part is also going to be covered up when I'm done sewing. Now for our bow, I went ahead to cut out this fabric. I have about 12 inches in width, and I think same thing in length. Then I went on to sew it at the sides. After sewing it, I turned it to the right face and I gave it a good press. I also went ahead to cut out this strap, which is about 1.5 inches, and I went on to sew it on the wrong face and turned it to the right face, and I gave it a good press. So I'll gather up the fabric this way to form a bow, and I'll use the red rope to hold it round this way. I'll take it over to my sewing machine and I'll stitch it on the wrong side of the rope. After stitching it tightly, I'll turn it to the right face. I'll go on and show you how to cut out the petals. I have this piece of paper here, which is about 5.5 inches in height. Okay, in length, this is the biggest petal. Now I'm going to measure 3 inches at the hem, at the down part, and at the up part I'll measure 3.5. I'll connect the dots like this, and then I'll give it a curve at this part, just the way I'm going about it. Just create any shape you want. So this is how I want mine to be. I'll go on and cut it out. The next layer of this flower is going to be about 1 inch shorter than this first layer. Alright, so that one is going to be 4.5 inches in length. I'll go on and mark my 4.5 inches on this pattern paper. I'll connect my dots. At the down part, I'll measure 3 inches, and at the up part, I'll measure 3.5 inches. I'll rule a line connecting my point, and then I'll go on and create my shape like this. I'll cut it out. So the next layer is going to be 1 inch shorter than this layer. So the next layer is going to be 3.5 inches. I'll measure 3.5 inches, which is the length of this particular petal. I'll roll a line, and at the down part, I'll measure 3 inches. At the up part, I'll measure 3.5. I'll connect my points and then go ahead to create my shape, the shape of my petal. I'll go on and cut it out. The next thing is to place them on my fabric and cut out. Okay, the biggest petal is going to be, I'll be cutting out about 8 pieces of it. The second petal, I'll cut out 6 pieces, and the last petal, I'll cut out 4 pieces of that one. I went ahead to attach paper stay to my fabric. This is my doll face satin. I attach paper stay to it. You can use any interfacing of your choice to give your petal structure. I'll go on and fold it like this, and I'll place my petal on it and cut out. I'm done cutting out, and this is what I have. Alright, so I have 8 pieces for the biggest size. The second biggest size is 6 pieces, and the smaller size is 4 pieces. So I'll be putting 2 pieces together, right face facing each other like this. I'll go back to my sewing machine, and I'll use 1/2 inch to sew it all round, leaving the down part open to turn it out. So this is how I'll go about it for the rest. Leave the down part open to turn it to the right face. So you can see for the second one, I'll do same thing, right face facing each other. I'll go back to my sewing machine and sew it all round. I'm done sewing. I'll go on and notch. I'll notch all round and then trim out the excesses. This will help our petal to relax well. After trimming out the excess, I'll turn it to the right face and give it a very good press. So this is what I'll be doing for the rest petal. Okay, I'll give it a really good press. After ironing it, this is what I have. For the biggest petals, I have 4 pieces of that. For the second one, I have 3 pieces of it. And for the smaller size, I have 2 pieces of it. I'll go on and pleat. Just create the shape you want, okay? You go on and form the shape you want. So I'll go back to my sewing machine and pleat how I want. I'm done pleating, and this is what I have. Alright, I also went ahead to cut out wording. This is the thick wording. I cut out a round shape. I'll be layering my petals on the wording like this. Okay, I'll place them like this. You can use your hot glue, your hot gun. You can use your fabric glue. You can tack. But I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew all round because I want it to stay firm on each other and be durable. So this is how I'll be layering it. This is the placement I'll be using. For the last part, the last petals is what I will use to cover up the rough edges at that midpoint by sewing it like this. So let's go over to the sewing machine, and I will show you step by step how I achieved it. Alright, so I've gone ahead to place the first one and I sewed it all round. I'm placing the second layer of my petals. I'm using my pins to hold it in place. Just go on and form the shape however you want. Just create something beautiful. I'll use my pins to hold it down. This is the third one. I'll place it like that and I will sew all round. After sewing this one, I'll be placing the smaller size on it. So just go on and sew it like this all round, secure it so it stays in place. I have a separate video on how I achieved this as well. It's also a step-by-step guide. You can also watch that for better understanding. After sewing this, I'll pick the smaller sizes. You see what I have? So I'll pick the smaller size. I'm going to place it like this. Just watch how I'm going about this. I'll place it like this. I will sew first. Just place it like that at the midpoint of that rough part. I'm going to sew it this way. After sewing it, I'll turn it over like this. Can you see? I'll turn it over like this and I'll top stitch on it to keep it in place. Now you can see that one part of the rough edges is already being covered up by using this process. You can also use a decoration to cover up that part, depending on what you want. So I'll pick the second piece now. I'll sew it like that and then I'll turn it over this way and top stitch. You can see at this point the rough edges are completely covered up. So just like I did for the other side, I'll do same thing here. I will sew it like this. Sew it first like this. After that, I'll turn it over. You see, I'm going to turn it like this. Can you see that? The rough edges at the midpoint is covered up now. And I'm going to top stitch to keep that petals in place. If you watch carefully, you understand how I went about this. So thank you guys for staying tuned and connected to this point. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, do well by hitting on the red button to subscribe, like so that our videos can reach a wider audience. Also leave a comment. If you have a question, leave it in the comment section and I'll be responding to your questions. At the end, this is what we have. To attach it to my dress, I first of all used my hot glue to attach it. Then I went ahead to tack it. I tacked it all round on the wording. Okay, I tacked it using the wording, and this is our bow. It's a detachable bow. I used my pins. You can see how I placed the pins and I placed on the gown as well. So I can place it like this. You can choose to detach it from it. So thank you so much, guys. You can see the inner part. This is the hard net. You can see how beautiful our fabric rose is looking and also our ball gown. Do not forget to hit on the red button to subscribe, like, and comment. See you in my next video. Bye.